Justin Herbert, we need to have a conversation about him. But let's get into the game first. The Texans beat the Chargers 32-12. Now, the game seemed a little slow. And everybody was talking about that, game is a little slow, but that's the playoffs for you. It means that they've studied each other, they know what's going on, and they're trying to break through on something. They're trying to see what works, what's going to happen, and what adjustments they need to make at halftime to try to pull this game out. That's just playoff football. So you might get some games where it's 3-3 at halftime. And that's not saying anything bad. That's just good defense. That's like when it was the Patriots against the Rams in the Super Bowl. People were like, oh, it's so boring and nobody's really scoring. It's good defense for you. But Stroud threw for almost 300 yards. He was like 18 or 17 yards off from 300 yards. 1 touchdown, 1 pick. Joe Mixon, 106 rushing yards and a touchdown. And then we get to Justin Herbert. Now, Lab McConkey, he's going to be a stud. As long as he doesn't have a sophomore year slump, he is going to be a stud in this league. Now, I'm not saying he's going to be a Jamar Chase or a Justin Jefferson type of guy, but he's making a name for himself, and I ain't going to lie, he's growing on me. I'm not a Chargers fan, but he's growing on me. But Justin Herbert, 250 yards pretty much, 1 touchdown, 4 picks. That's not what I want to see out of my franchise quarterback in our wild card playoff game. Now, if I'm going against the Eagles, not even the Eagles, if I'm going against the Chiefs or going against the Ravens, somebody that actually has a better secondary than the Texans, then I would understand that. But this is the Texans. Now, the Texans aren't no slouches. They're not a terrible team. They had their problems, but it looks like they fixed those problems when the playoffs started. And the one thing that you never want to give a team is bulletin board material. You never want to say something or have a commentator say something or a sports analysis say something that's going to make them play with a fire underneath them. Rex Ryan, oh, the Chargers have a bye week because the Texans haven't played good in the last month. It don't matter if I ain't played good in the last month. It doesn't matter if I went on a 4 or 5 game losing streak to get into the playoffs because I had already clinched the playoffs. Playoff football is a lot different than regular season football because now, let's say in the regular season, let's just start regular season. Regular season, I'm trying to win as many games as possible to get into the playoffs. Once I'm in the playoffs, I might have played you before. So now, I need to take away what you did to me last time, which the Steelers did not, and I need to make sure that you don't do this to me again, and you got to find a whole new way to beat me now. You need a new identity. If your identity is running the ball, we're going to force you to pass it. If your identity is passing the ball, we're going to force you to run it. The Chargers couldn't do none of that. The leading rusher for the Chargers was J.K. Dobbins, and he had 26 rushing yards. They had like a total of, 55 or 60 rushing yards. Can't get anywhere with no running game. Number one. Number two, I said it a few minutes ago. My franchise QB cannot throw 4 picks. I think 1 or 2 of them went back for a pick 6. You cannot throw 4 picks in a playoff game. And Justin Herbert, he's looking more and more like a Dak Prescott, if you guys understand what I mean. And no, I'm not talking about their playing styles. I'm saying career-wise. You got all the intangibles. You know, Dak, he can win you some games. He can win a lot of games. He can get you into the playoffs. But when the playoffs get here and you're sitting there like Dallas look at the 49ers, you might as well just clean your lockers out before the game even starts. Because you guys do not have the best record against the 49ers in the playoffs. Or if it's the Eagles, you might as well pack it up because you're not doing nothing against the Eagles. But then, let's say this is a non-divisional opponent. Non-divisional. You might have a chance. But Justin Herbert, every time they get in the playoffs, since he's been in the league, he's not really played that well. Remember when they were in the playoffs against Jacksonville? Jacksonville was down 27 points. And they let Trevor Lawrence and a bunch of no-name receivers walk them down the field left and right. And I know that that's not Herbert's fault because that's defense. But why didn't you score any points? Why couldn't you at least get 3? Why couldn't you get 3 twice in 30 minutes of the second half? Because that would have helped. But they let the Jags come back. And they let the Jags walk them down every single time in the second half. And they were chipping away. And then next thing you know, you look up at that scoreboard. Oh my God, it's 21-27. Oh my God, it's 28-27. We just lost. Justin Herbert needs to be reevaluated because he has the intangibles. He's a 6'4" quarterback that can, throw the ball and make all the right passes. But you can't win when it matters most. Because you can win all these games in the regular season, and that's fine. But when you get in the playoffs is when your wins really count. CJ Stroud has a playoff win in his first 2 seasons? Meanwhile, Herbert, what do you have? A loss to the Jags when you were beyond blowing them out at that point. And now you have this dramatic loss to the Texans that fall on your shoulders because you've turned the ball over 4 times. Hey, I think the Chargers, y'all need some more playmakers, and you guys need a better defense, honestly, because your defense should have not given up 32 points if you guys were only going to score 12. That's all I got to say about the game.